Hello, welcome to the virtual enrichment series. Today we are focusing on body movement and awareness. I'm Jenn Friedline, certified behavior consultant and professional dog trainer for Jenn's Dogs located in Cornelius, Oregon. I started Jenn's Dogs in 2020 and I specialize in behavior support and enrichment for dogs with big emotions. I advocate for force-free, relationship-based training, and I help families build calm, connected relationships with their dogs through thoughtful enrichment and behavior support. Let's start by talking about what enrichment is. Enrichment means meeting an individual's physical, mental, and emotional needs in appropriate ways by focusing on their species typical, breed typical, and self typical needs. Our goal with any enrichment is to structure the environment and routines so dogs can engage in natural or instinctual behaviors. This allows them to essentially be their authentic and true self. This matters because as domesticated animals, dogs are unable to fully perform natural behaviors in their environment. A lot of the world that they live in is very human focused. We control where they go, what they interact with, how they move through the world, and what opportunities they have access to. So enrichment becomes our way of giving some of that back to them in safe and appropriate ways. At Jenn's Dogs, we are part of the Family Dog Mediation Program. Family dog mediation looks at the whole dog, not just their training or learned behaviors, and not just stereotypical assumptions about the breed that they are. This is a focus on ethology. We're looking at genetics, environment, stress, emotional health, and the individual dog in front of us. The LEGS model used in the Family Dog Mediation Program stands for Learning, Environment, Genetics, and Self. This helps us understand behavior more fully because it helps us understand how dogs experience and respond to the world. Two parts of the dog's legs can be influenced more directly, and that is learning and environment. We can influence these through training, enrichment, management, communication, and physical adjustments to the world around them. Genetics and self cannot be changed. We cannot change what a dog was bred to do, how their body is structured, their inherited tendencies, or their individual preferences. So when those things create challenges or when those things stand in the way, then we look at the categories that we can influence more directly. Balance really matters. If one leg of a table is weak, the whole table becomes unstable. The same thing happens with dogs. When we support the whole dog, physically, emotionally, behaviorally, and environmentally, we often see better regulation, confidence, and communication overall. For enrichment at Jenn's Dogs, we split the dog's physical needs into 6 core categories. These categories are social, doing things together, physical, moving the body, calming, doing things that are naturally relaxing, foraging and scavenging, using the nose, problem solving, using the brain, and predation sequence, using instinct. It is always important when speaking about animals to understand the predation sequence because this is how animals have survived and functioned throughout history. Different portions of the predation sequence have been heightened or suppressed through selective breeding in order to create dogs capable of specific jobs. The full predation sequence starts with orient, then comes eye lock, stalking, chasing, grab bite, kill bite, which is sometimes called a shake bite, dissecting, finally consume. For today's topic, we are going to spend a lot of time around the slower portions of movement and the slower portions of the predation sequence. For body movement and body awareness, we need to know exactly what we're talking about. Intentional movement builds confidence. Dogs who learn where and how to place their feet begin to move through the world with more confidence and clarity. Helping them practice intentional movement helps them become more successful navigating unknown obstacles, new environments, changing surfaces, and unstable environments because they have adapted the ability to adjust, process, and make good decisions with the information that they have. It is important to slow the body down because slowing the body down helps slow the brain down. Slow movement, slow thinking. When we are in slow thinking, that is where good and thoughtful decisions can actually be made. When dogs are in fast movement and fast thinking, rational decisions are much harder to make because they are much closer to instinctual or reactive responses. So, slow, thoughtful movement encourages dogs to stay in a learning and processing mindset rather than reactive impulsively. Body awareness also supports long term physical and emotional wellness. This part is less about enrichment itself and more about building coordination, balance, and core strength, which supports healthy joints, stability, digestion, cognition, and overall movement throughout life. Dogs who feel physically capable and comfortable in their body are often more willing to engage in activities, explore environments, and try new things. This can also help keep away stiffness from things like arthritis and helps keep joints and muscles healthier as dogs age, reducing instances of muscle loss and instability. Body movement as enrichment matters because it interrupts instinctual and reactive movement patterns. When dogs become overwhelmed or reactive, they often move quickly, they scan quickly, they react quickly, they become very close to instinctual responses. Slowing movement down interrupts that arousal and helps keep dogs out of those chasing, scanning, and reactive responses. It can help shift dogs back into thoughtful decision making and learning, which then helps the rest of your enrichment plan come into focus and truly meet the needs you're trying to hit. This also builds strength and beyond everyday activity. Just like humans, dogs benefit from internal strength training, so their general movement through life becomes easier. Dogs who are sore, uncomfortable, weak, unstable, or in pain tend to live much closer to that reactive brain. So we want to support their dogs as they age, their bodies as they age. This also creates confidence through problem solving because it removes some of the novelty and uncertainty. If a dog steps onto an unknown surface or something unstable, they may pause for a moment. If they have practiced stabilizing their body, shifting their weight, and being intentional with their foot placement, they are more likely to figure out how to navigate this unknown surface. This is especially helpful for dogs who spend time hiking, exploring, training in public, or simply doing more activities out in the world. If your dog struggles with body awareness, this can become problematic in a lot of ways. You may see hesitation on new or unstable surfaces. You may see difficulty navigating objects or tight spaces. If dogs do not understand the size of their body or how their body moves through space, then they may hesitate to go through areas they are not sure they can fit in. That often leads to reduced confidence in trying new things. You may see uncertainty when climbing, balancing, or stepping over obstacles because they do not yet have trust or predictability built into how those environments react. You may also see slower recovery from injuries resulting from slips, stumbles, or environmental changes. If dogs run too hard, play too hard, or slip on slippery flooring and pull something, then recovery can become more difficult. And as dogs age, you may begin seeing loss of strength, coordination, or stability. This can affect their ability to go up and down stairs, jump, run, explore, or continue participating in the things they enjoy. By supporting the body before problems develop, we can often help dogs remain more physically comfortable and emotionally stable long term. Again, this is not about unmet needs in the same way as other enrichment categories. This is more about keeping the body functioning well as part of your overall enrichment plan. Sometimes this category can feel a little bit more like work and less like the fun side of enrichment, but it is incredibly important. This has also become preventative. It does hit the physical category of enrichment, and comfort and confidence are deeply connected. If we look at body movement through the family dog mediation lens, different breed groups are going to experience movement differently. Body awareness and movement needs are influenced by genetics, structure, purpose, and breed history. However, parts of the predation sequence were heightened or suppressed to create that breed are going to influence how that dog moves through the world and what they are naturally capable of doing. Physical conditioning supports long-term wellness. Movement work can support stability, coordination, muscle development, and aging comfort in dogs whose structure or breeding may predispose them to physical decline. And since we look at the whole dog, we want to make sure that movement matches the dog in front of us. The goal is not making every dog move the same way. The goal is helping each dog build confidence, awareness, and healthy movement patterns appropriate for the individual dog. As a reminder, the family dog mediation breed categories are more extensive than traditional kennel club groupings because they are based more heavily on function and ancestral purpose. These breed categories are bulldogs, guardian dogs, gun dogs, herding dogs, natural dogs, scent hounds, sight hounds, terriers, toy dogs, and world dogs. Natural dogs are your more survival type dogs like Alaskan dogs and Siberian dogs. World dogs are often street dogs or village dogs that are mixed breeds and do not have a single specific purpose. Some dogs benefit heavily from slowing down. Herding dogs, terriers, gun dogs, and other highly athletic dogs often need opportunities for thoughtful, controlled movement rather than constant high-speed activity. These dogs were bred for very specific jobs, and many are still selectively bred for those jobs today, even if they never actually get to perform them. Some dogs benefit from building movement confidence. Guardian dogs, scent hounds, and toy dogs were not necessarily built for speed or high athletic performance. They were built to move more intentionally and only spring into action when necessary. Toy dogs are often carried. Guardian breeds are often large-bodied dogs. Scent hounds are typically built for endurance and slow tracking. These dogs may need more encouragement to move intentionally and build strength and confidence. These dogs can also become more prone to weight gain and physical decline if movement opportunities are not intentionally added. Laura Donaldson has a wonderful program built around the idea that slow thinking is life-saving for dogs. Her work focuses heavily on helping dogs develop thoughtful, regulated responses rather than impulsive reaction. A lot of her work emphasizes that when dogs are moving fast, reacting quickly, and operating from instinct, thoughtful processing becomes much harder. So we take a lot of cues from her, understanding that slow thinking encourages dogs to pause, process information, assess the environment, and make more intentional choices. This concept is especially relevant for reactive, impulsive, fearful, or highly aroused dogs who benefit from learning how to slow down both body and brain activity. Adolescent dogs also fall heavily into this category because they are reactive, impulsive, and often think they understand the world better than they actually do. Slow movement exercises can become a practical way to teach emotional regulation, processing, and thoughtful engagement with the environment. This approach aligns closely with Jenn's dogs and modern welfare-centered behavior work that prioritizes nervous system regulation, agency, and emotional wellness. If the body is functioning well, then the brain often follows. When we think slow thinking, slow movement, it is important to understand that the body and the brain influence each other. When you intentionally slow the body down, that can encourage the brain to follow suit. Slow movement encourages self-regulation. Pausing, balancing, stepping carefully, and moving thoughtfully helps dogs from fully tapping into that instinctual reactive brain because their survival depends on paying attention and processing. Slow movement interrupts impulsive patterns by keeping dogs in a state where thinking becomes part of the behavior. Dogs begin learning that slowing down, assessing, and processing information is safe and reinforcing. We are teaching dogs how to think, not just what to do. It is important that dogs understand cues and tasks, but as dogs mature into adulthood and beyond, we also want them capable of thinking, processing, making good choices, and navigating the world successfully. Another concept we lean heavily into is animal-centered education and free work developed by Sarah Fisher. This work helps dogs build confidence, body awareness, regulation, and emotional wellness through movement and exploration. Animal-centered education, often called ACE, and free work prioritizes the welfare of the whole dog, very similar to the family dog mediation program and very similar to what we talk about often at Jenn's Dogs. This is not just about obedience or performance outcomes. This is incredibly important for family dogs because we want them to be their authentic selves. Dogs are encouraged to move through thoughtfully designed environments at their own pace. We are giving them freedom of movement, freedom of choice, and agency. Free work setups often include many of our core enrichment categories, such as foraging, physical movement through balancing and climbing, and problem solving through texture exploration and slow navigation through obstacles. This fits naturally into our enrichment model. This work allows dogs opportunities to process information independently and continue building those skills of thinking, processing, and remaining in the learning brain. Andrew Hale and other welfare-centered professionals also emphasize emotional safety, agency, and understanding behavior through the lens of the dog's lived experience. Free work gives dogs freedom to explore movement. This is another way to offer body awareness and foot placement opportunities, except instead of us leading them through it, they explore more independently. Agency is a large part of this enrichment. The freedom to make choices taps into real-life reinforcement and job satisfaction. Slow exploration supports regulation. It gives dogs something else to do besides react. It encourages processing, exploration, dismissal of environmental stimuli, and impulse control. We, as guardians, take more of a backseat role. We let dogs explore the opportunities, figure things out, and decide when they are done, while we just have provided the platform. Physical movement also becomes part of emotional support. Dogs are moving their body, working their joints, building strength, and developing confidence as they move through free work sessions. When we have unmet needs, enrichment meets the need and allows safe rehearsal of slowing down, weight shifting, controlled movement, foot placement, spatial awareness, and body confidence. Our goal with enrichment and meeting the dog's needs is always to achieve outlet before eruption. Now let's talk about ways you can begin adding body movement and body awareness into your dog's life. Some of what we are going to discuss can be done independently, and some of it is a little more advanced. One of the easiest starting points is introducing foot placement and targeting. This is not nose targeting. This is more about targeting with the feet and the body. Start with solid and stable objects. You can use low platforms, books, steps, bowls turned upside down, or anything stable that allows your dog to begin placing their feet intentionally. You can cheat and ask them for an up if your dog already knows it. If they do not, you can use a lure to encourage 1 or 2 feet onto objects. This allows dogs opportunities to explore and figure things out without overly clear direction. We reinforce good choices. We reward stretching upward following the lure, stretching downward, twisting to the side, reaching, experimenting with body movement. The goal is not necessarily can you put your foot on the thing. The goal is the process of getting there. Allow dogs time to search for footing. Pausing, adjusting, repositioning, and shifting weight all help build coordination and intentional movement. Work slowly and keep sessions relatively short so frustration stays low and confidence stays high. Your next step is exploring unstable and novel services. You can use many of the same techniques while introducing new services. Start with stable surfaces so dogs build confidence and safety first, then gradually introduce slightly unstable surfaces. Cushions, balance discs, foam pads, and different textures. These are all examples, and there are many things in our environment we often overlook that dogs can step on. You do not want anything that clatters loudly, breaks, or startles the dog, especially when you're first beginning. You want things that remain relatively safe and are confidence building. Allow dogs to explore movement changes at their own pace. This goal is not precision. The goal is understanding how surfaces move, how to stabilize the body, and how to adjust footing thoughtfully. Reward controlled movement and recovery. If dogs pause, shift weight, try again, or stabilize themselves, those are all excellent moments to reinforce. Keep surfaces low, safe. Increase difficulty gradually. And remember that changing surfaces itself creates novelty. You may work on the same surface throughout the week, then introduce something new the following week. Progress from predictable to less predictable movement. As dogs become more confident, movement starts feeling predictable to them and they naturally begin moving more fluidly and confidently. That is often your sign that it's time to change environments or surfaces. You can also use position changes and controlled movement to build body awareness. Practice slow transitions between sit, down, and stand. You can also add in stretches, play bows, cookie stretches, and other body positions depending on your dog's skill set. You can introduce different position variations, such as sit pretty or stand pretty, side sits, fold downs, or pivots. These are all variations of traditional position cues. Sit pretty and stand pretty are especially good for core engagement. Core strength becomes incredibly important as dogs age. Dogs with long backs or weaker top lines often benefit heavily from strengthening stabilizing muscles. And with all of this, reward thoughtful movement rather than speed. If the pattern always becomes sit, down, stand in the same order, dogs begin predicting the pattern and moving too quickly. That is not the goal. This is not simply cue response behavior. This is teaching dogs to pay attention how their body moves through the environment. These skills also naturally fit into everyday life. Position changes can happen during walks, training sessions, meal prep, commercial breaks, or calmer enrichment routines. Your next step is increasing difficulty with elevated surfaces. Take familiar position cues and place them into elevated surfaces. You can use stable elevated objects first and eventually move into slightly unstable objects. Dogs can practice sits, downs, pivots, and movement patterns while balancing on changing surfaces. You can also practice familiar cues on entirely new places: gravel, wood chips, rubber flooring, carpet, and different terrain. These things may seem ordinary to us, but dogs experiencing them very differently. Keep your progression slow. The goal is always keeping our dogs out of that reactive, instinctual brain and encouraging thoughtful processing. Body movement and foot placement are excellent for exploration, climbing, and novel surfaces. Encourage safe exploration of the environment, like logs, rocks, playground equipment, ramps, retaining walls, and uneven terrain. All of these become movement opportunities. This is especially useful during walks when dogs become distracted or uncertain about the environment. The more dogs practice on novel surfaces, the more confidence and adaptability they build. They begin learning how to process, dismiss, and continue functioning in different environments. This gives dogs alternative behaviors when they encounter something scary or overwhelming. It allows dogs to problem solve with their body. If dogs do not understand how the environment works or how to move through it successfully, they can become very closed off from the world. The more comfortable dogs become with surfaces, the more options they have. Movement can also become functional enrichment anywhere, even during walks. If you feel trapped in one spot or need a break, utilizing movement and exploration in the environment can help dogs process and regulate. As dogs continue practicing body movement and awareness, we begin building confidence and fluency. Once movement is understood, confidence grows. Dogs who feel comfortable with foot placement often begin moving more fluidly and confidently through environments because now they trust their body and understand their options. Over time, as confidence builds, movement speed can gradually increase. As dogs become more coordinated, we can allow more freedom and trust within safe environments. The focus is always on clarity rather than perfection. The goal is helping dogs feel capable, connected, and confident in their body. And confidence carries into everyday life. Slow movement and muscle building support digestion, cognition, stability, comfort, and overall wellness. One of the easiest ways to practice body awareness and movement is through agility foundation, tricks, and movement patterns. This does not need to be competitive agility. This can simply be family dog activities. Introduce movement sequences and navigation skills. Weave pulls, tunnels, stepping stones, backing up, spin, crawl, all of these help dogs understand how their body moves. Trick work is excellent for coordination and communication. Many tricks require dogs to isolate body parts, shift weight, stretch, and think carefully about movement. These activities combine physical and mental enrichment. Dogs are moving, processing, problem solving, making decisions, and communicating throughout the activity. Body movement enrichment can also layer naturally into other enrichment categories. Now we move into free work and developing agency. This is where the process becomes less dependent on us. We are not constantly telling dogs what to do, how to do it, or where to go. With free work, we set up the environment and we allow dogs to interact with it. We create opportunities for independent movement and exploration. Dogs choose how to interact with obstacles, textures, platforms, and environments. We can simply follow along or allow them to explore independently in a contained space. This allows dogs to make their own movement choices. We can observe how they step, pause, climb, sniff, and explore without any pressure. That freedom helps build confidence, problem solving, and body awareness. We scatter reinforcement throughout the environment because movement alone is often not reinforcing enough for many dogs. The reinforcement encourages continued exploration and interaction, and our focus becomes observation rather than performance. This also allows us opportunities to notice stiffness, limping, hesitation, imbalance, or discomfort as dogs relax and move naturally. Many people have multiple dogs in the home. When working with multiple dogs, it is helpful if dogs have relatively similar skill levels. Dogs who are closer in confidence and movement ability will often work together more successfully and with less competition. You can use separate stations or platforms for each dog, and that can be their space to wait and rest or observe while the other dog explores. And then you can rotate them in and out as needed. You can also allow opportunities for independent movement and exploration together. For example, during a play date with a low energy dog, dogs who do not necessarily want direct play and with reinforcement scattered throughout the environment may encourage exploration together. One dog might start climbing, bouncing, sniffing, or exploring, and the other dog may become curious and join in. They are processing and problem solving together. If you're doing free work with multiple dogs in the same place, monitor carefully for signs of stress, tension, or resource guarding. We do not want the activity to create heightened emotions. A lot of this can also happen naturally during slow walks and exploration together. When you encounter new environments, elevated surfaces, or movement opportunities, you can tap into body awareness naturally. As we build our enrichment plan, we want to meet all needs. Body awareness and foot placement are firmly rooted in the physical category of enrichment. When building your enrichment plan, focus on your primary category first, then allow other categories to layer naturally into the activity. Enrichment works best when categories work together. We are not necessarily replacing categories. We're acknowledging that body movement naturally touches many needs. The social portions of this are things we're doing together. Practicing movement activities together, guiding movement, joining group activities, and movement-based sports like agility or trick or manners classes, even scent work. These can all provide intentional movement within a social environment. Slow movement naturally encourages slower processing. Thoughtful foot placement and controlled movement help dogs remain in that regulated learning state. Stretching and stationary movement activities are also excellent calming opportunities. You can use lures or lick mats placed higher or lower to encourage stretching, shifting weight, and slower movement. Calming enrichment through body awareness encourages pauses, more sniffing, and processing. Simply stepping back and allowing dogs opportunities to stop and observe and think reinforces the calming portions. Foraging and scavenging layer naturally into body movement work as well, especially with free work. Food scattered throughout setups encourages dogs to use their nose while moving thoughtfully through the environment. You can create scent trails and movement paths. You can scatter feed during walks. You can also pair sniffing with climbing, balancing, and exploration. And if you're in the lead, you will be using a lure. So that is going to be following their nose. Dogs are using both movement and scent processing together. Problem solving is also already deeply connected to these exercises. Teaching new positions, tricks, and movement patterns requires the dogs to think and adapt. In fact, that's pretty much the entire point, is that we want them to learn to think and use their brain and problem solve. As complexity and difficulty increase, then of course your problem solving is going to increase as well. When layering the predation sequence, our focus is primarily on the eye lock and stalk portions. These are the slower portions of sitting and focusing, and then slow movement within predatory behavior. We are really encouraging that stillness, that focus, very controlled movement, tracking, and thoughtful engagement. We are trying to channel instinct into regulation rather than explosive fast movement, which is typically what comes next. Not all dogs are going to have the same physical ability. Focus on your dog's physical age, physical ability, and what the dog in front of you can do, not just what kind of dog they are. Do not assume every herding breed is high drive or every guardian breed is low movement. Adapt for the individual in front of you. Identify which parts of body movement your dog may benefit from. You can utilize isolated pieces of slow movement and foot placement in ways that support your individual dog. Match enrichment to ability, environment, and safety. And remember, breed tendencies do not equal or override individual needs. This is how we remain focused on self-typical as well as breed and species-typical enrichment. As soon as this presentation ends, we're going to move into the chat and answer questions individually. So now is your opportunity to place in the chat. You can share your dog's breed or breed mix. Do you notice any challenges with movement or foot placement? What do you think your dog would enjoy most? How could body movement fit into your current enrichment plan? I will copy this into the chat so that you have that prompt there. And once this presentation is over, we'll go in order and we'll share each entry. And of course, you can also add any additional questions to the chat and I will be happy to answer them as well. When we are doing enrichment planning, it is always important to adapt for the individual because that is who we are doing this for. If we are not adapting to the individual, then why are we doing it? Try more than once before changing your approach. Allow full agency for the dog to buy into the activity and allow them opportunities to say no. That doesn't necessarily mean never try it again if they say no. It may simply mean trying a different time or a different way. Some dogs, especially as they age, may become more hesitant about trying new movement activities involving foot placement and stability. Some dogs may simply not have had opportunities to practice these skills before. Adjust difficulty, environment, setups, expectations, and layering based on the dog in front of you. Even though we use a lot of food through these activities, the primary reinforcer is often access to the environment, which is because we are exploration on new surfaces and learning new things and building strength and confidence. And these things become naturally reinforcing. In closing, we leave you with a quote from Sarah Fisher. When we allow dogs the freedom to move, explore, and process the environment at their own pace, we give them opportunities to build confidence, resilience, and emotional well being. Thank you for joining us today. Our next session will be June 20th at 10 a.m., and our topic will be passive enrichment, focusing on visual and auditory enrichment. If you are unaware, we do offer single free work sessions at the Jenn's Dog Studio in Cornelius. Those can be with Shay or with me, Jenn. And we will set up a free work session. There is a short form due before the session, and then you will be able to bring your dog in to explore. And that allows you the opportunity to see how free work works so you can implement it at home. As always, your feedback helps shape future sessions. If there's a particular topic you would like covered, or if you would like to share how today's session helped you, I would love to hear it. All right, now on to the chat.